Welcome to Political Paradigm from Channels Television Studios in Abuja. I am Terry Ikumi. Today we're discussing the need for electoral reforms in Nigeria. Now, there are several amendments contained in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which has now scaled second reading and is awaiting a public hearing. The proposed amendments to the Electoral Act and the Constitution aim to improve the electoral process and strengthen our democracy. Some of the amendments include diaspora voting to allow Nigerians abroad to participate in elections. There's early voting as well for security personnel and election officials. And then there's the same-day voting to reduce election costs and improve efficiency. What we do know is that the Electoral Act reforms will enhance transparency and accountability, and it is widely believed that these amendments will enhance the credibility of our electoral process and increase citizens' participation. So it's definitely a step in the right direction for our democracy. So let's get talking now. The Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters joins me virtually from Lagos, Honorable Adebayo Balogun. Welcome to Political Paradigm, Honorable.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you for allowing me to take you off your holiday, your long recess, to have this conversation, very important one. And I think I'll just start off by saying congratulations on the bill scale in second reading. I saw what transpired on the day that you led the debate for that second reading. So let's just start from there and get you to react to concerns around what many have described as the slow pace of the National Assembly in trying to get this bill passed in good time. You're on holiday now. You're not back till, I think, sometime in September. You could hold a public hearing, but what this means is that this bill would not be deliberated on until after your holiday. You could correct me if I'm wrong about that. But how do you react to concerns around the slow pace of this bill in the National Assembly?
You see, when people talk about lawmaking, it's not just about we, the legislators. We need to get opinion of the people. This is one thing we are doing now. Actually, we are talking about publicity now. We are talking about engaging the people. And in the last few days, I've been speaking to various media houses. And these are part of the areas that you let the people to get enlightened about the laws. So that by the time we finish the public hearing, it is the feedback of the people that will decide the voting pattern of the members. You know, we are representative of the people. We don't just take these decisions on our own. It is what we feel that you want us to do that we actually get done in the House. So we are getting feedback from various organizations, various interest groups, and by the time we resume and we do the public hearing, then we'll go for third reading. And that's when people are actually going to vote during the consideration of the reports. During the consideration, it is the opinion of people that we gather together now that we are going to use during the consideration and the third reading. So we are not actually resting on ours.
Okay. So let's get right into the conversation. Now, give us a rundown of the number of bills that are currently before your committee.
Oh, okay. Yes. First of all, I want to thank the Speaker of the House, Right Honorable Tajuni Abbas, for giving us this marching order. He has made it clear that the 10th Assembly must give Nigerians a bill that will ensure free, fair, and inclusive electoral process. And I think one of the first things we've been able to do is to conclude the gender bill, which is going to ensure inclusion of more women and even the physically challenged, the PWD. There's the bill for special seats for the women has been passed. That means we are going to have one additional rep member in every state, additional rep member in every state. That is going to be 37 compulsory rep members, that is 36 states and FCT. That will be added to what we have on ground. It's not going to be taken from what we have. Like Lagos have 24, for example, it's going to be 25. The 25th one is going to be just for gender, women. And the same thing for Senate, one per state. And in the state assemblies, we are going to have one per senatorial districts. That is, every state, like Lagos State, must have 3 additional state of assembly members. We have 40 before, plus the 3 is going to be 43. So these are areas where more women will be added into the existing number of legislators. And the same thing goes for the PWD. I think there is one per senatorial, no, one per geopolitical zone. So these are what we've been doing in the area of inclusion. And we're talking about voting exercise.
Just,
The voting exercise itself.
just 1 second, just so before you leave the area of inclusion, need some clarification on some of the concerns around the gender bills before you. The special seats bill. Yes, many have described it as a very, very important bill that will help women inclusion and participants in governance and politics. I just want to clarify something. Does this proposal say that the other seats that are not exclusive to women can still be contested by women?
By men?
By women. There are special seats.
No,
there are 37
the other
seats.
seats will still be contested by women. Yes, it's still open. The 20, like in Lagos, the 24 will still be open for everybody.
So let me ask you this question.
Only the additional one will be only for women, but the other one, the existing 24 will be open for everybody, open to everybody.
I think this also applies to the PWDs. But let me ask you,
Yes.
to what extent are the political parties carried along? Because the whole process...
No, once it becomes a law, it becomes a law, that means the special seat will be... It's a special seat. That means every political party must present a woman. It's a gender seat.
But you don't see...
every political party will present a woman for that particular seat.
But as a
like
politician...
the one in Lagos will be representing Lagos State.
Yes, but...
Is representing Lagos State. The constituency will be Lagos State, not any area.
So, but as a... it will not be from a specific area.
Yeah, it's going to represent the states.
How easy or otherwise do you see this happening? Where, because political parties, every political party would have to choose a woman.
A woman for that particular seat. You know, like you have Ibejuleki, Etiosa, all these, you would have filled for all these federal constituency. Then you have the particular one that will be called gender seat. It's not any federal constituency again. It's a gender, the constituency is gender. So you add an additional person for that one. That one will be covering the whole state. When you are going to vote, you will vote for throughout the state. We are also looking at people at the correctional centers, the inmates at the correctional centers. They must be allowed to vote, because even people in police cells and some of these have not been voting, and I think this is against their constitutional rights. So we are amending the act to ensure that we take the correctional center as a polling area, so that people in the correctional centers will be allowed to register and vote. Again, people on essential services during election will be introducing early voting for people on essential services, like people in the media, the journalists, accredited journalists, officials of INEC, the ad hoc staff, accredited observers, and security officials who have about 2 weeks early voting. We are creating an opportunity for them to vote about 2 weeks before the main election, so that everybody will be actually carried along, because we found out that these people constitute a large number of voters.
How will this early voting work? What's the plan for the early voting?
That you register online. You'll be told when to register if you know you are going to be involved in the electoral process. So you register online. Then the date must be at least 2 weeks before.
You must already have a voter's card, I believe.
Yes, you should have.
Not just anyone, but anyone who has a voter's card and is an essential worker.
But there will be accredited voting center for that particular exercise. It's not going to be everybody going to vote in the normal voting center. Probably it might be one per ward, or maybe about few per local government, which INEC will actually come out with a procedure to handle.
Okay, so in total, how many Electoral Act amendment bills make up this amendments that is before you?
Well, we have quite a lot. We have quite a lot. But let's just look at the important, very, very
The important
important
ones,
ones.
okay?
Yes, in area of voters card, the PVC, we usually have problems over the issuance of PVC, replacement of PVC. And since the beavers we are using now does not require the microchip we have in the PVC, so it doesn't make any sense to continue to print PVC. So what we are advocating for now is a downloadable voters card. You can just download it on your own. Check on the INEC website. Get to your own get your own information uploaded, downloaded, then you print. So nobody will require you to continue to bring PVC again. And then that means the buying or selling of PVC will no longer be an issue because you are not voting with PVC again.
As good as that sounds, if you recall the situation with the election the last time where INEC had some technical glitches, can you trust the system? Is the Independent Electoral Commission ready for this particular process?
No, this is a very easy process.
Yeah, but you know you can't.
Before the day of election, you are not downloading on the day of election.
Are you going to rule out hackers?
No, what I'm saying is, it's just look with the beavers. Yeah. You don't even need any major form of identification. If you go there and just tell them your name, they input your name. Once your name come out, it is your fingerprint, it's your biometrics that will show that you are the one.
Okay.
So all you just need is any identity to say, okay, I'm Adebayo Balogun. Okay, they input Adebayo Balogun on the beavers. Then it brings up your information. If you are registered in that unit, if you are not registered in that unit, then your information will not come out. So once your information comes out, you now put your fingers to check on your biometrics to now confirm that you are the actual person bearing that name. So if you have come with a fake information, that means the biometrics will rule you out, will disqualify you.
Where does the Independent Electoral Commission stand on this? Because I know they've made their own submissions to the committee.
Yes, that's one of their own recommendations.
That's one of their own recommendations as well.
Yes, one of their recommendations. Because it's just a waste of time and resources to continue to print PVC. You know, when we are using card reader, it's the microchip in the card reader, in the card PVC that the card reader will read.
Yes.
But now it's not reading that microchip again. Just what you just need is your name or any information. In fact, that's why we are advocating the inclusion of the NIN in the voters register. So once we are able to do that, just go there, tell them your NIN, it brings your information.
So the NIN is now a compulsory requirement.
Yeah, we are working on that with NIMC, because we have to look at the capacity of NIMC to be sure that they will be able to migrate everybody before the election, before we make it compulsory. So we are still working with NIMC to see how fast they can get that done.
So when you talk about, let me take you back to early voting and just find out if the proposal makes room or suggests how long that this early voting can take place before the main election.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks before the main election.
Latest 2 weeks before the main election. 2 weeks before the main election. And the result will not be counted. They will be packed and locked up. It is on the day of election that it will be counted along with the current votes.
Will the voting be done in person, the way normal elections?
Sure. Yes, you have to go. That's why we have to. There will be accredited voting units.
Okay.
But instead of everybody going to their voting, because you might have just 1 or 2 people in some voting areas, voting units. So
it will not be the polling unit you're registered. So it would be
It might not be. It will not be specifically at the polling units. There will be accredited polling units for that exercise. But a local government might have just 5 or 10 units for you to go and maybe 1 or 2 in a senatorial districts, something like that, so that everybody will be, and they will look at the pattern of registration if you have security officers in an area where you have barracks, and you know many people from that barracks will be on the essential service. That means you can look at a unit very close to that barracks and make that one active for the exercise. What Beaver does is to do electronics accreditation. That is the most important aspect of our electoral process. The accreditation system is the most important aspect because that's what will block people from voting twice.
Yeah,
but if you're talking about online voting,
yes,
that is a different thing entirely. It is online voting that can be hacked because you are not going to see your ballot paper, you are not going to see whatever you are doing. Nobody can show you.
But that is
These
the
are
same,
the number of people.
Honorable, but that's the same online from where the individual will download their information.
No, what I'm saying is just like your voter's card, instead of going to INEC office to say, I want to reprint my voter's card,
Yes.
and they will start telling you come back a particular time and you do not even get it. And some people, they will print it, they are not going to collect it. So what we are doing now, since the microchip in the PVC is no longer useful, so all you just need to go to the voters center with is just any form of identification.
Okay, so let me get you
It might
straight.
not even be your voter's card again. Any form of identification that you can tell them, I am Adebayo Balogun. Once they see it, they input Adebayo Balogun and you bring up your information on the screen. Then you now put your fingers to now confirm that you are the person.
All right, so
because
you say
this accreditation is not real time.
Yes.
It's not online. It's recorded on that system. So it cannot be manipulated. Every unit will have only the voters registered in that unit on that system.
So, Honorable,
so it's not what is done online.
Let me get clarification. You don't trust electronic voting or online voting?
Electronic voting is online voting is part of electronic voting.
But that's not the general for the early voters. For the early voters, which ordinarily anybody would have said that would have been a test for essential workers to do online voting instead of going in person to vote.
You see, when it comes to online, let me tell you, when it comes to online voting, you don't have anything that you can check with. If you are doing your manual voting, if you are saying there's a miscount or there's any argument, you can bring the box out again and recount.
But when you
are doing online voting, you are not seeing the vote at all.
So
it's
you're
only
saying,
the machine that is
I just want to clarify
so
something.
Person had 5, so party has 20. There's no place you can go and check who voted and who didn't vote.
But there are systems around the world that utilize online voting. Are you saying that we've not come of age?
In America, they still do the manual. In Germany, it's
optional. I'm not saying outrightly. I'm saying there are options for online voting, but you're not. The proposals before you at this point do not make provision for any form of online voting because you don't trust the system.
No country relies on online voting.
I mean, they have the option, Honorable. I'm not saying they solely do
even
online
in America,
voting.
very few states do the option of online voting. In Germany, they will tell you they will never even consider it. You see, the issue is you are bringing a process to solve a problem. If you are talking about Nigeria problem has been in area of accreditation. Why do people do multiple voting? The only way you influence vote is number one at the units, how you can do multiple voting, and that's what Beavers has cured. Before this period, you see an area where 2,000 people will be registered. On the day of election, there will be less than 200 people on the field. And at the end of the day, they would have voted the whole 2,000. But let me tell you, the last election, like in the political palace now, you say the fear of Beavers is the beginning of freedom. Many areas where they bring all these large votes could no longer bring them again because they were all false votes. And it's only accreditation that can solve that problem. So when you're doing online, I'm in my house, and even if I'm not available, there's no way you can check if so person. Because in online, what it means is a software that will handle all the process. And if by manipulating the software, that for every 20 votes that comes in, 10% should go for this party, 15% should go for this other party, 30% should go for this other party. You just find that as you are voting, the machine is allocating the votes. So you cannot see your vote when it comes to online. You can't see any box where you are putting these votes. So when you are talking about electronic voting, you can always talk about even a device where you have a machine where you put your thumbprint and it brings out the receipt of where you voted. You still have to go and put it inside the box, like what was done in
this,
Kaduna some few years ago. That's also electronic voting. But when you are talking about online, that means you are not going to be, you can be in the comfort of your house, then you'll be voting, and you don't even know how many people that voted. You cannot confirm. There's no means of accreditation. It's a machine that will do everything.
But
And if the machine is compromised,
wouldn't the accreditation show the number of registered voters because it's online, and then also you can tally that with the number of votes eventually. But that's one thing.
It's supposed to be a secret vote. So when I go in and I vote, if you want to do online at the center, if you're going to do online at the center, that means when I go in and I vote, because it's not going to display who I voted for. So I might not even know who is being recorded for me.
Let me ask you a question.
Because it's not going to show results to me. You are only going to see the final results. It's not going to let other people know who you voted for. So at the end of the day, you just see a result. So that's the implication. Okay. We are talking about online. So that means everybody goes in, votes without anything showing you the number of votes that this particular people voted, the pattern. You cannot see the pattern. But when you do your manual vote, even if you feel there's any issue, you can still do a recount. You can't do a recount with online because there's nothing to be counted.
What are you doing with electronic voting, electronic transmission of results? And
yes, if you look at section 50, I think what we have done now is to ensure that section 65, where we usually have that problem was where the presiding officer, I think it stated that the presiding officer shall transfer the results. But now we have amended it to now say the presiding officer shall transmit the results, including total number of accredited voters, to the next level of accreditation, both electronically and manually. That means as you are finishing, you transmit it through the beavers to the RF, and you still go with your manual copy of the result to the next level of collation, which is going to be the units.
I'm looking at that section now, section 60, and perhaps many sections, section 60, 65, 60 subsection 5, yes. And I was hoping that you would have a provision that talked about the aspect where the result transmitted online would be prioritized.
You see,
I mean, it's valid, isn't it?
It's not. You see, those are the areas you have to be very, very careful with, because it's only the INEC official that has access to that transmission you are talking about. But in your manual copy, every party has one. The security officer has one. Because what we have just transmitted is a photocopy, is a copy of the result that you all signed. It's a copy of the result that you all signed, and all the agents of the party will have their own copy.
But Honorable, I thought that result would be transmitted in real time, which means if it's counted at the polling unit, it would be transmitted right there for everyone present to see. That means it would be valid enough to be held as pure evidence, such that it must tally with what was counted eventually.
It can always also be used, because if, for example, let me tell you something. Look, the electoral officer there will show you that, yes, I've posted it. What about a situation where I didn't post and it's posting something else? How would you know? If you now make it a law that it is that particular one that must be used, it can be used. It should be part of what will be used. But if you say that is what must be used, so even if it is wrong, it must be accepted. That is the implication. Because once you snap All you can see is that the electoral officer have snapped the result and they said he has sent it. You cannot verify
Well, wait, is it? It's
if it
if
has
if
gone
it's real
or not.
time. If it's real time with the way technology is now, and we saw this in the last general election, the experimental part of it,
Real time is just about
where
going immediately.
yes,
You can post and there is no service in your area. You know, Lagos, Nigeria is not Lagos and Abuja.
so you know that
So there are
brings
some areas that no matter what you do, it will not go immediately.
the question of and we saw
You
that in
see
the
what IRF does,
yes.
is if it is only when they have discrepancies on issues, then you have something to fall back as INEC to say, okay, what is in your record? Let's see. And that's only when you find out that that one too is not being tampered with. So if a party is saying that what INEC brought there is not what they all signed, and you bring different results, then you can also look at the back end, which is the RF, to now see if that is different from what the INEC official brought. Because the agent could have decided to change his own and wanted to cause a trouble. But if what the INEC official brought is still the same thing with what they have on the RF and what other parties also brings, because it's very important, you must check from different sources. The police officer, security officer too will have a copy. So you must check from different people to make sure that, okay, if 3 or 4 people have the same thing and you, a particular party, has a different thing, that means you are the wrong person there. So these are issues. But if you now say it is only what they have on RF, so what people need to do now is to start influencing what goes into the RF. Because you have to look at when you're making a law, you have to be very careful. Because if you make it that it is only what is on the RF that should be accepted as the authentic result, then people will just wait, start looking at how to influence the RF or hack it and do whatever they can do to ensure that their own result is what will appear on the RF.
Let me take you up on the overvoting bill that Honorable Fulata had complained about during the second consideration for the second reading. Perhaps you talk to us. I think the Deputy Speaker at the time, instructed that it should go into the compendium of the bill. So talk to us about that bill and what it seeks to address. Because it sounds like a very important bill considering the concerns around overvoting. Even in the latest election in Edo State, the opposition claimed that the overvoting was recorded.
You see, what this bill is actually saying is that when you have overvoting, maybe that you have 20, maybe accredited number of voters in that particular unit was 300, and the number of votes is now 350. So you deduct the difference from all the parties. That's what is what actually proposing. And when you go to the committee level, it was seen that as a solution that will not solve the problem. A recommendation that will not solve the problem. Because whenever you are bringing a recommendation, you will not bring a recommendation that will cause a bigger problem. Because if we have 300 accredited number of voters, and the total registration, total votes was now 350. So he said he's proposing that you now remove 50 from everybody's votes. That means if I scored 25, you should remove 50 from my own. Where will you get the negative? Where will I transfer the negative to? Will I transfer the negative to another unit? So yes, we know we have to solve this problem of overvoting. But one of the issues is to work more with our agents to ensure, because you cannot do overvoting without the cooperation of the agents. Because once you go for accreditation and your fingerprints does not match with the information on the beavers, you are not supposed to go ahead to vote. So that means every agent must be vigilant. You must be sure that every person that goes to vote is well accredited.
But
that is the area we should concentrate on.
But then, if you rule out Honorable Fulata's bill on overvoting because, according to you, it doesn't solve the problem, what are the provisions in this amendment bill that could solve the problem of overvoting beyond the vigilance of agents at the polling
The
units?
law cannot solve every problem.
Yeah, but are you saying there's no provision in this? Because one of the ways that has been canvassed is if you have a situation of overvoting, that polling unit should be, the results from that polling unit should be suspended, and then the election conducted afresh.
See, these are you just giving another solution. So these are various options, but that's why I said in his own bill, what he has brought is a proposal that we felt will even worsen the situation. So there are other people with different other options.
So you're saying that there's no bill before you to address the issue of overvoting?
Apart from what he brought, that's the only one.
Okay, that's all right. Let's move on to something else now. There are certain perspectives that have been canvassed here, especially from the Nigerian Bar Association. Let me take a look at some of their proposals here. They want an amendment of Section 29, subsection 5, to restrict the right of action to only aspirants within the same political party, and retention of the 14-day filing window under Section 29, subsection 8 for timely resolution, which means the first part of it is that only aspirants within the same political party under Section 925 can institute a lawsuit.
Because you cannot allow people that are not involved in the process to challenge the process, because these are internal issues of a particular party. So you must be part of the process. You must have contested within the party. A PDP candidates cannot, or aspirants cannot come to APC to say the APC candidate was not duly nominated.
Just like
So
the
you
case,
must stay within your party.
just like the case in Plateau State, if I recall correctly, where the APC challenged the election of the People's Democratic Party. So this seeks to correct that.
Even with Obi, when APC was challenged, the fact that Obi came in less than a month into Labour Party, and the law also says that the party would have submitted the register of their members a month before the primaries, but Obi went in less than 2 weeks before the primaries, and the court said, look, they call it medullus interloper, that you cannot interfere in other people's affair.
They also want a situation where Section 135 would be amended to accept certified documents like the BVAS logs, IRF screenshots, and all as sufficient proof of irregularities, minimizing the need for oral testimony. So they are trying to minimize oral testimony and use the BVAS, IRF screenshots. So that's where that aspect where I talked about prioritizing electronic transmission of results comes in, because now the NBA wants that to be tendered in court as evidence in election suits.
Well, you see, when it comes to some of these different opinions, they all have their pros and cons, and it's about the how to look at what are the pros and cons of these proposals. And I think we never got to an agreement on that aspect. I think that's the only area where there could not be a consensus on, because we believe that, look, if you are claiming that this is what happened, the person that was there must be present to say, yes, this happened in so.
Yeah, but Honorable, they are saying that the BVAS should be tendered as evidence. Electronically transmitted results, the IRF screenshots should be tendered as evidence as well. The Form EC8A forms should be tendered as evidence as well. What is wrong with that?
They were already, those are normal issues that you would have tendered. But there are some cases where they will ask. There are some cases that will require a witness. I don't think it's every situation that they require a witness to come. There are some areas that these issues will resolve. But we are talking about maybe malpractices. Maybe I was prevented from voting. This security officer drove our people away. You cannot prove that by any document. There must be people that will come and say that this is what happened. So there are some areas that you need the witnesses to come. It's not in every case that what you provide in terms of document will resolve.
Okay.
But there are some areas that, yes, you must prove. In the last case in Ogun State, where it was proven that a particular candidate influenced people with recharge cards and some monetary inducements with a particular card, monetary card. People have to be brought to say, yes, we collected it. He gave it to us. These are where and how it was distributed. So there are some areas that you need people to come. But I don't think it's in all cases that you must invite witnesses to come. INEC official that was there is a witness to say that, yes, these are the results we presented. And if it is okay with it, if the same result is what they are tendering, then I think the judges should be able to handle their decision. Because, like I said, it's not everything that will be legislated. After we finish the amendments and the signing by Mr. President, there will still be interactive session between the legislators and even the judiciary and the political parties so that we can explain the spirit behind these laws. If this happens, because most of the time, because of lack of understanding or what the spirit behind the law is, that's why we're having different judgment from different judges. So by the time we explain to ourselves what do you intend to achieve by these amendments, then everybody will be on the same page.
Honorable, are we hoping to get this Electoral Offences Commission that's been canvassed generally, especially by civil society organizations, to take the burden off INEC? Do you see this bill seeing the light of day, the Electoral Offences Commission?
Yes, there's a very likelihood that high likelihood that it will say true. But the issue is, like I said, we can't legislate everything. Most of these electoral offenses have been there, but the issue is how many people tend to report. Even when you report, most of the problem we usually have. And some of these witnesses, like the security official that was on ground on that particular day, was supposed to be the witness, must have been drafted probably from another state, and he has returned to base. Getting them back to come and make testify becomes an issue. And Nigerians, for who we are, once you win an election, people will tell you, what are you still looking for? Why are you bothering yourself? God have vindicated you. And even when you lose, they will tell you, why are you still wasting your money? What has happened has happened. Better let it go. So we must also be ready to utilize this agency well when it's constituted and approved, because I'm sure that is what every Nigerian wants. And Mr. President will not waste time to sign into law any reasonable bill that is actually passed by the House. And since is what an average Nigerian wants, it will actually say true.
Honorable, kindly explain this bill. I think it seeks to address the issue of defections. A bill to alter the constitution to require official resignation from political parties before defection by members of the National Assembly and State Houses of Assembly. Explain that bill, please.
If that had been in place, what the crisis we have in River State wouldn't have occurred. Because the flow of the House is not where you resign from your party. You ought to have resigned from your party, then you bring an acknowledged copy of your resignation to the House to tell them, well, I've resigned from so party. This is the evidence. But because that was not done in Rivers, that's why we had this.
So what you're seeking, if I get you correctly, what you're seeking to address is the confusion and not the actual concerns around defections and losing your seat for defecting from a political party that gave you the platform to win that election.
You see, there are two different issues.
Exactly.
The issue is the one in Rivers was about you defected or you didn't defect.
It was
because if you defect and they found out that there were not enough crises in your party to warrant it, then the court will actually send you away. But what you are arguing in River State is that we didn't defect. We have not resigned. So how will you say you have resigned today and tomorrow you say you have not resigned again? what was what did you explore? Which loophole did you explore? So we found out that what they've just explored is that you went on the floor of the house to say you have resigned, and the next day you can say you have not resigned again. Resignation should be treated separately.
So what you're
If
doing,
you
the argument for many would be that what the National Assembly is doing with this is legalizing defections, because the general perception, based on what the law says, is that unless you leave your party on grounds of clear division within the party, you should lose your seat.
Yes,
And
that is when, if you now say you've resigned, if you now say you've resigned, let's just clear the issue of resignation first. By the time we now clear it, we'll now look into the reason why you resigned.
who looks into it?
If it is actually
Who, the presiding officer?
a reason as stated in the Constitution, that's when when the speaker or presiding officer will now say if you are to resign, I mean to declare your seat vacant or not. But what
So
happened in Rivers? What happened in Rivers? That's what we are saying. You see, you make an amendment to solve a particular problem.
Yes.
What happened in Rivers is for someone to resign and say I've not resigned again. Why should we allow such? So that means if we make this amendment, before you come to the floor of the House, you would have resigned. Then when you now come to the floor of the House, it's to now weigh your reasons. If it is good enough for you to have resigned, because you have already resigned. So it's the presiding officer that will now weigh your reason now. If it is worth resigning over or not, that would determine if it's going to declare your seat vacant or not. So you can no longer say, oh, maybe I realize that I've made a mistake. I'll not say I've not resigned again. Because that's why they went to court in Rivers.
Some of the responses to this particular bill that I have seen have been more about if the National Assembly would have instead put it clear that if you leave your political party that gave you the platform, whose logo was on the ballot, that you lose your seat. Because what we see a lot of politicians do right now, especially members of parliament, is claims of division within the party that are not substantiated. And now you say that the responsibility of deciding whether or not to agree with the division within the party now lies with the presiding officer.
The reason why you resigned, I've not spoken about the reason why you resigned. I said in Rivers, for example, why they went to court was to say they actually resigned or they didn't resign. It was, we resigned. No, you said it on the national TV that you resigned. No, we have not resigned. It shouldn't have been an issue. Resignation should have been clear. How do you resign from a party? You go to your party to resign. Then if they have actually resigned, then what they would have gone to court for would have been, was that reason good enough or not? It is time for IPAC to bring such a bill to say, because it's IPAC that represents the parties. That's the body of the political parties. If they now want it to be stated that once you resign from any party, then you must lose your seat, irrespective of the condition under which you resigned.
Okay.
It wouldn't matter again. Then it is IPAC that can move such a bill. Because some of these issues is that we just discuss it on the streets, but we don't look at how it's going to be affected. Our job is to bring for whatever proposal the public wants.
Okay.
And it must be from stakeholders. Because it's not just people saying, oh, they should have resigned. Well, because the political parties also have the reasons why they said if there are divisions in your party and they put some provisions. Today it might favor APC. Tomorrow it might favor PDP. It might favor some other parties. Yeah. So once there are some issues, there are reasons why some laws are made. Because I'm not so comfortable with that law today, it doesn't make it bad.
Very
because
well,
people are going to one particular party that I don't like today, it doesn't make it bad.
Okay.
But if it's so bad, I expect IPAC, that is the body of the political parties, to now propose such a bill to be sponsored by us. They can bring it to me. So that's henceforth, we do not even want anybody that crosses to retain a seat. Then it will be accepted and we'll go for public hearing. If all Nigerians wants it, then it comes back to us for consideration, third reading. It will be passed.
Okay. Very well then. What's the status of the same-day voting bill? Is it contained in the compendium that you have?
Yes, yes, it's there. It's
What?
there.
What?
And yes, personally, I believe it's something to have. But now with the inclusion of this gender special seats, which some people are saying it's going to complicate it now. Because if you want same day voting, that means going to be 5 elections that day. Mr. President, the Senate, the Rep, the Assembly, and the Governor. But today now, we are going to have the gender Senate, the gender Rep, and the gender Assembly, State Assembly. That means we are going to have 8 elections on that day. And part of the amendment we are also faced with now is people, many aspirants saying that, candidates complaining that sometimes the agent of the party compromises, that everybody wants their own agents. That means instead of having one party agent, now we will be having
Multiple.
agent per candidate.
Yes.
So on the day of election, with these eight elections per day, that means there will be 8 elections per day, 8 candidates on that day, with their agents times number of party. So 8, if there are going to be 20 political parties on the ballot that day, that means you have 20 times 8. That's 160 agents will be available on the spot in every unit. Do you see what kind of chaos that can happen on such a day? It's going to be very chaotic. So these are options people are now looking once we have actually passed this gender bill. So if the gender bill should say true finally.
You think that we can
And we have talked about only the gender now. We have not talked about the PWD. We don't know what number will actually be approved for them. The PWD is also there.
What's the proposed number? What's the proposed number in the bill now?
The
proposed number for the PWD is in the bill now.
Yes, I think it's 1 per geopolitical zone.
How will that work?
They'll count all the.
How do you pick round? How do you pick? How do you pick? How do you pick one person from one particular?
Is it that? Just need all those operations to INEC.
Okay, very well
These
then.
are issues that INEC. And you see, our own is to create the law. Then there will still be a lot of public discussion. There will be a lot of public education. There will be a lot of discussion, and you'll be seeing me more frequently now. With our committee members, we have to divide ourselves to start talking about this issue. We have to make people talk because yes, we are representing you, not that because we have all the knowledge. We need to discuss so that people bring various ideas.
There's something else that's being canvassed now, and that's the conclusion of all electoral cases in court before swearing in. Do you have that deal?
Yes, that is our major objective. And with that, that's one of the reasons why we have to amend the constitution to change the timeline of the election process. What we try to do, because from what we had before, section, I think that's going to be under these relevant sections that talks about the timeline, that has to be changed to give the to change the day of election, which stated that it should be 150 days before the election, that she must be held at least 150 days before the election, to 180 days before the election.
Okay.
Because we need to give enough room for the process of litigation. Because when it was put at 250 days, the same constitution gave 180 days for tribunal and 60 days for the appeal. And in case of governor, gave another 60 days for the Supreme Court. So that means you have about 300 days, and you only provided for 150 days between the day of election and the swearing in. So we must increase the number of days between the day of election and the swearing in, and also reduce the number of days for the litigation. What we are proposing now is to put the tribunal at 90 days and put the appeal at 60 days, which is going to be 150. plus the days of filing and other activities. So which should not be more than 185 days.
Right.
And in the area of the governorship election too, we have limited their own litigation also to 2 levels. They are also going to start from the Court of Appeal and end at the Supreme Court, just like that of the president. So instead of having a 3-tier. So the same thing will be repeated for the pre-election matters. So under Section 285 of the Constitution, we have amended that to bring all the timeline for the pre-election matters to be amended. So at least to also 185 days.
All right, time really does fly by, but before we say goodbye, I have about 2 more questions to ask you. One of them is on the issues surrounding regulation of political parties. I know about the commission to regulate the activities of political parties, but there's something within that must be discussed, and that is the deregistration of political parties. Is it contained in that bill?
The registration.
Deregistration.
Of the
deregistration.
The registration of political parties.
Yes.
In fact, we must even strengthen that. But we were a bit reluctant this time around because, like, you have to be very sensitive to the public whenever you are making some laws.
Yes.
Because everybody just go and register. We have over 100 pending political parties that wants to register, over 100 as of today. As of today, while the existing ones that are not even viable, the only number of viable parties we have now is just about 4: APC, PDP, NNPP, and Labour. These are the only viable parties for now, and we have over 100 awaiting registration. But I think we should put stricter measures. There must be threshold of achievements in terms of election that you'd have attained before you can even contest for a state election. Probably some of them should just be at the local government level, and if you're able to achieve a particular milestone, you can move to state level, and if you're able to make the additional milestone again, then you move to the national level. I think these are part of the things that we need to do. But like I said, it's a very sensitive period now. They will call it, oh, you are trampling on the right of the people and all this stuff. So you have to be very sensitive. I believe during the next session, there will be, I think we will have a saner climb at that period. They will be able to now look at some of these issues more objectively, not sentimentally, because there's so much sentiment in the air now. And you have to be very, very sensitive to some of these issues too. But one area I want to also talk about is about the area of the internal democracy of the party. This is an area that usually gives us major litigations on the area of their primaries. That's why we have the highest number of litigations. We are trying to ensure that there is proper internal democracy within the parties, so that there will be little or nothing to go to court with. Every rules and regulations must be clear, and we are looking at all their laws. We will try to remove ambiguity in most of these laws, so that you must adhere to the Constitution, the Electoral Act, the constitution of your party. And we must make sure that, because by the time we finish, you have to call all the parties to a meeting. You must make sure that your constitution does not run in deviance to the Electoral Act or the constitution of the country. So these are issues that they must go and do immediately. We pass these laws.
I don't think.
And again, too, in ensuring that this last one, please, in ensuring that we meet up with the timeline of concluding litigations before swearing in. There's a major amendment we also put in, that petitioners that comes with frivolous cases should be penalized along with their lawyers. Because most of the time, they bring in frivolous cases, waste the time of the court, and at the end of the day, we can't meet up with the timeline given to this the judiciary. So we want to make sure that nobody will go scot-free if you bring such cases that you know that you shouldn't have brought to waste the time of the courts.
All right, well, thank you very much. I also know that the committee is working on correcting that error with the statutory delegates this time.
Sure. Those are the areas we are
Do you
working
do
on
you also
seriously.
have an independent candidacy bill before you?
Yes, we have the independent candidacy bill, and yes, it's also on for the public hearing,
Okay,
but it's a constitutional
but what are
amendment.
your
It's
thoughts
not
on
in the
it?
electoral act.
Yeah, it's one of those. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, you see, sometimes just give people what they want because it's about the people. But if what the conditions stated in the bill says is that you must be nominated by 10% of the registered voters. So within the constituency you are covering.
Yes.
And Mr. President today, President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu didn't get 10% of the total registered voters in Nigeria. So if I should have 10%, why do I have to go and bother my head with independent candidacy? I'll just take one of the dead parties and I'll ride on it and I'll win.
Honorable, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on Political Paradigm. I can imagine how busy the days ahead are for you, even though you're on holiday.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Well, I've been speaking with Honorable Adebayo Balogun. He is the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters. So while we look forward to that public hearing, I urge you, as a Nigerian who is interested in change, improvement in our democracy, to pay close attention to what happens at the National Assembly during the public hearings. Get involved if you must. If you'd like to catch this edition and more, please go to YouTube and search Political Paradigm or go to channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.